Multiple sons and blessings plus rebirth plus decisive killing and killing plus multiple female leads. Jiang Hao crossed a different world and became a useless son who beat his mother at the beginning. Jiang Hao, who had crossed over, insisted on reform and thus bound the multi-child and multi-blessing system. Later, she married a naturally obese woman named Li Jiao. Unexpectedly, this Li Jiao had a special physique, and as long as she ate food every day, she could increase her cultivation. After reaching a certain number of offspring, they will even reward various techniques and treasures. Jiang Hao looked at the rewards in the system and couldn't help but ponder deeply. Chapter 1. Multi-child and multi-blessing system, marrying a wife. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Howard, what are you doing? Don't do this. I am your biological mother, and I raised you with my own hands. How could you do this? A middle-aged woman with a dark complexion and crow's feet at the corners of her eyes, wearing linen clothes, was reaching out her calloused hands to block her in front of her. She collapsed on the ground, tears streaming down her eyes filled with fear. Looking at the scars on her body, it was certain that she had been beaten. And in front of her was her biological son Jiang Hao, who was holding a wooden stick. It was obvious that the wounds on her body were caused by Jiang Hao. But at this moment, Jiang Hao's face was full of confusion, because he had just crossed over and looked at the scene before him. Suddenly, a huge memory appeared in Jiang Hao's mind. Originally, this Jiang Hao was a gnawing old tribe. Due to the death of his father, he grew up with his mother since childhood. However, before that, Jiang Hao not only did not know how to be grateful, but also treated his mother like a slave. His mother also doted on him very much, and Jiang Hao agreed to all his requests, taking care of him like a baby. This led to Jiang Hao being lazy and not doing any work at home even in his 20s. The process that led to the appearance of the scene in front of him was because Jiang Hao had a crush on a young lady from a wealthy family in Greentown. This young lady was very beautiful, not only knowledgeable and polite, but also from a wealthy family. She was the dream goddess of many men. So Jiang Hao asked his mother to ask this woman to be his wife. Jiang Hao's mother is not foolish either. As a young lady from a wealthy family, how could she possibly take a liking to herself, a poor person who often cannot even afford food? So Jiang's mother refused her son's request. Jiang Hao, who was used to being spoiled, got angry and used force to his mother. How could Jiang's frail mother be Jiang Hao's opponent? In no time, he was beaten all over by Jiang Hao. Jiang Hao, who had traveled through time, expressed great disdain for what he had done before. Jiang's mother was so kind to her, how could he take action against his own mother? Ah, it's really unlucky. Just as I crossed over, I ended up with a negative image of hitting my father and scolding my mother. Jiang Hao shook his head as he looked at the wooden stick in his hand, quickly threw it aside, and then walked up to help his collapsed mother up. But as soon as Jiang Hao walked up, his mother shrank twice, thinking that Jiang Hao was going to take action against him. Seeing this situation, Jiang Hao quickly explained. "Mom. I was wrong. I shouldn't have hit you. Get up quickly, I won't do this in the future." Jiang's mother believed Jiang Hao's words as she watched his changing expression. After helping Jiang move onto the chair, a mechanical sound came to Jiang Hao's mind. Congratulations to the host for changing their personality and treating their mother well. Successfully activating the multi-child and multi-blessing system. Host can receive system rewards as long as they marry and have children. Upon hearing the sound that appeared in his mind, Jiang Hao's face turned pleasantly surprised. This was the system that the army had always dreamed of. With the help of the system, he could definitely thrive in a different world. And this system is also a multi-child multi-blessing system, which becomes stronger after giving birth, just right in line with Jiang Hao's appetite. Watching Jiang Hao's expression become excited as he practiced, Jiang's mother thought he was crazy. At first, she hit and scolded her, then suddenly changed her face, and now she suddenly starts laughing foolishly for no reason. Jiang Hao looked at his mother with a puzzled expression on his face, but he didn't pay much attention. Instead, he said anxiously, "Mom, I'm no big deal now. Hurry up and find me a mother.in.law." Upon hearing that Jiang Hao asked her to find a mother.in.law for her, Jiang's mother thought that Jiang Hao was not willing to give up on the young lady from Green City, and trembled as she said, "Hao, it's not possible. That young lady's family conditions are too different from ours. Our door-to-door marriage proposal will definitely not be successful, and it will even make people laugh and say that we toads want to eat swan meat." Looking at his mother's worried expression, Jiang Hao knew she had misunderstood and then explained. "No, Mom, you misunderstood me. Just find a woman from an ordinary family for me. I won't choose, as long as my fertility is still good." "Is fertility still present?" Looking at Jiang Hao's eager expression, Jiang's mother laughed at once, even forgetting about Jiang Hao's recent assault on her. Originally, Hao was thinking of women, and even the mother understood. "I will contact the matchmaker to introduce one to you." Upon hearing these words, Jiang Hao was overjoyed and said, "I'm finally going to marry a mother.in.law." But on the day of the blind date, Jiang Hao's smile suddenly disappeared. Looking at the woman sitting in front of him, with a fat head and big ears, and a waist thicker than a water tank, Jiang Hao immediately grabbed her, which was completely different from what he had expected. In theory, this world has abundant spiritual energy. After being nourished by spiritual energy, it is difficult for humans to gain weight. How could there be such a chubby person? Such a large body can't sit on it all at once. However, this chubby woman was obviously very satisfied with Jiang Hao. She stood up with her thick lips and two very obvious dimples appeared on her face. Then she spoke coquettishly to Jiang Hao. "Brother Hao, it's our first time meeting. My younger sister has a bad physique, so please don't take it amiss, brother." Although this woman may not have grown up well, she is still quite polite. Seeing this, Jiang Hao stood up and pulled his mother up to the next room, saying, "Mother, this blind date is also too." As he spoke, he gestured with his hand over his woman's obese physique. "Isn't there anything that looks a little better?" Upon hearing Jiang Hao's words, Jiang's mother smiled bitterly twice and sighed in response. "Hao, my mother also wants to find a beautiful daughter.in.law for you, but you have long lost your father. Apart from this house, you have no family property. Ordinary people can't look up to us. So you introduced me to something nobody wanted." Jiang's mother slapped Jiang Hao and said to him, "What do you call that? No one wants it. Look at Li Jiao's big butt, they say it's easy to have children. As long as you get married, you can hold your son soon. Besides, it's all said that getting married and warming up the bed. Look at Li Jiao's overall grid, even warming up the bed requires a quick step." Looking at his mother's eloquent expression, Jiang Hao reluctantly patted his head. It seemed that the only woman he could marry at the moment was this chubby woman named Li Jiao. Forget it, marry her first, give birth to a child and receive the system's reward. After returning to the house where Li Jiao was located, the two of them made an engagement and arranged the wedding as soon as possible. 3 days later, the wedding was also successfully completed, and the sound of the system distributing rewards was also heard at this moment. Chapter 2. Birth, System plus Function. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Congratulations to the host for marrying their first wife, reward. 1 piece of inferior yellow spirit root, 10 inferior spirit stones, 3-year lifespan. Spiritual roots grow in Dantian and are the medium for absorbing the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. According to the quality of spiritual roots, they can be divided into 4 levels. Heaven, Earth, Xian, and Huang. Each quality is also divided into 4 levels. Inferior, intermediate, superior, and top. Grade. The higher the quality of the spiritual root, the faster it absorbs the spiritual energy from heaven and earth, and the faster it cultivates. And the inferior yellow spiritual root that Jiang Hao obtained is the lowest level spiritual root. Although this inferior yellow spiritual root is not very good, it is something that many people dream of. There are very few people in this world who have spiritual roots. As long as you have spiritual roots, it means you can cultivate and become a cultivator above 10,000 people. Feeling the sudden appearance of the spiritual root in the dantian, Jiang Hao felt that he had added some bonds to the world. Tiny spiritual energy continuously came to his meridians through this spiritual root, refining his body. At this moment, Jiang Hao felt refreshed and had an inexhaustible amount of strength in his body. Is this the feeling of having a spiritual root? It's just too exciting. After feeling the spiritual roots appearing in his body for a while, Jiang Hao looked back at the spiritual stone that appeared in his hand. This inferior spirit stone is as big as a fist, sparkling and emitting a white light, containing a large amount of spiritual energy inside. The spirit stones are divided into 4 levels, namely lower-grade spirit tools, medium-grade spirit stones, upper-grade spirit stones, and top-grade spirit stones. Different levels of spirit stones emit different colors, and the size of spirit stones will also vary. From low to high, they are 4 colors: white, green, blue, and red. Moreover, the higher the level, the smaller the volume of spirit stones. Lingshur is a consumable for cultivation, used by cultivators to enhance their cultivation, but it can also be seen as the currency of this world. However, it is usually some wealthy individuals who trade with currency, while poor people like Jiang Hao trade with ordinary gold and silver. Jiang Hao spent 50 taels of silver to marry Li Jiao, which Jiang's mother had saved up through years of frugality. However, Li Jiao's parents were also very happy to see their daughter get married. Her daughter had been on a blind date for several years and had not gotten married. Now that she was taken away by Jiang Hao, they no longer had to endure the ridicule of their neighbors. So they waved their hands and directly gave Li Jiao 100 taels of silver as their dowry. Jiang Mu not only earned back these 50 taels of silver, but also 50 taels, which made her extremely happy. After the wedding, Jiang Hao began to work hard for the birth of his first child. 3 months later, with Jiang Hao's efforts, Li Jiao also successfully conceived a child. During these 3 months, Jiang Hao was also ridiculed by men of the same age in the same village for marrying such a chubby wife. But Jiang Hao didn't care at all. After all, he had a systematic existence and definitely wouldn't have much interaction with them, so there was no need for him to experience mental exhaustion due to their words. During these 3 months, Jiang Hao continued to maintain his previous image of being lazy. Apart from giving birth, Jiang Hao didn't go out of the house much. If his personality suddenly underwent a huge change, he would definitely be suspected by others. It is better to be cautious. 10 months later, Li Jiao also successfully gave birth to a boy, and the sound of the system echoed in Jiang Hao's mind. Congratulations to the host for obtaining an spiritual root descendant reward. 10 inferior spirit stones with a lifespan of 3 years. Due to the host obtaining offspring for the first time, reward the Huangpin skill, Tuna Gong. Tuina Gong. A beginner's skill for cultivators to absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Upon hearing the sound coming from the system, Jiang Hao was overjoyed and finally obtained a cultivable technique. Over the past year, Jiang Hao has been constantly trying various methods of cultivation, but to no avail. Moreover, Jiang Hao has obtained 10 inferior spirit stones in a lifespan of 3 years, and his resources have increased significantly. As for the offspring without spiritual roots, it was also within Jiang Hao's expectations. After all, whether a child can have spiritual roots is closely related to his parents. Li Jiao does not have spiritual roots, while Jiang Hao only has a newly obtained lower-grade spiritual root, and it is normal to have no spiritual roots. Looking at Li Jiao, who was weak after giving birth, Jiang Hao also stepped forward and gently touched her forehead. After spending more than a year together, Jiang Hao has also developed a deep relationship with Li Jiao. Jiang Hao also found that despite Li Jiao's obesity, she is very durable. If she were to lose weight, she would definitely be a beautiful woman. Moreover, after observing for a period of time, Jiang Hao found that Li Jiao didn't eat much either. She only ate a small bowl of rice each time, and it was impossible for her to gain such weight. It seems that there must be a problem with Li Jiao's body, but at this point, Jiang Hao doesn't understand anything and can only observe later. Brother Hao, look at our son quickly. Please give him a name. Jiang Hao took the baby boy from her arms, pondered for a while, and then said. Just call him Jiang Ming. Jiang Ming. Great, my son has a name now. My little Ming must grow up happily. Jiang Ming seemed to understand what Jiang Hao and Li Jiao were saying, and he grinned. At the same time, the sound of the system also echoed in Jiang Hao's mind once again. Congratulations to the host for having a complete home, one husband, one wife, one mother, and a lovely baby, successfully enabled the system bonus function. Every time you obtain a child, you can increase 1 point. Current number of points. 1. Additional items can be added. Combat power bonus. 0. Chi boost. 0. Upon hearing a sudden sound in his mind, Jiang Hao asked in confusion. The system adds some features. What is this? The host can increase the corresponding bonus by adding points, ding. In order to make the host see more clearly, the main interface will appear in front of the host. As soon as the system finished speaking, a blue interface the size of a computer screen appeared in front of Jiang Hao. Looking at the things on the interface, Jiang Hao finally understood the purpose of the dot adding system. Without hesitation, he added this point to his luck. The main reason for choosing the chi boost is that Jiang Hao's strength can be ignored now, and if he chooses strength, it will not improve much. Therefore, it is still important to choose to increase the chi boost. It's not urgent to improve the combat power when cultivating in the future. After more than a month, Li Jiao became pregnant. Upon hearing this news, people from the same village also praised Jiang Hao as a talented person. They never expected that he, who is usually lazy, would have such a talent in reproducing offspring. Jiang's mother couldn't help but be happy to hear this news. Chapter 3. Strange Creatures, Fox. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The daughter.in.law I chose is really impressive. She became pregnant in just a few days. She was pregnant for a second time in less than 2 years, and I didn't see the wrong person back then. Don't doubt why Jiang Mu is so excited. Getting rid of the world full of descendants is definitely the happiest thing, okay? Li Jiao's parents were also excited when they learned that their daughter was pregnant again, because their neighbors always looked at them with envy when they heard the news. They have received a lot of mockery and laughter because of Li Jiao's physique for so many years, and now they are finally full of pride. I made you look down on my daughter, and now she is the daughter.in.law you will never get. Since Li Jiao became pregnant, Jiang Hao has been very proactive in helping his family with some farm work, and publicly claims that he aspires to be a good father after having a child and not let his son suffer. People in the same village also envied Jiang Hao's mother when they saw his transformation. His son, a prodigal son, turned around, and he had a special daughter.in.law, which should be considered as a sweet experience. On this day, Jiang Hao was harvesting wheat in the field. There is a lot of wheat in the fields, and the wheat in this world has greatly increased in size and fruit due to the nourishment of spiritual energy. Normal wheat is just at the belly level, but the wheat in this world is actually 1 head taller than Jiang Hao, reaching a height of 2 meters. Moreover, the ears of wheat are also very large. A single ear of wheat is enough for Jiang Hao's family of 3 adults to eat for a day. The harvested wheat, in addition to being consumed at home, should be taken to the nearest city. Green City. For sale and sold to grain shops in the city for profit. In the past, Jiang Hao's family only had his mother working alone, and the land of the Jiang family could not be fully cultivated, so a large area of land was abandoned. Jiang Hao's prodigal son turned around this time and will be able to plant all the land with food next spring. Jiang Hao was holding a sickle in his hand, unfamiliar with the wheat in the field. After working until noon, Jiang Hao returned home for lunch and came here to continue harvesting the wheat. But Jiang Hao was cutting the wheat well when he suddenly noticed a hint of white in the gap between the wheat ahead. Jiang Hao, who was attracted, looked towards him and found that there was indeed a white thing lying on the ground. Jiang Hao was surprised because he often heard from his mother that some mountain animals like to come down to the wheat fields to steal and waste food. Don't be fooled by the small size of this white thing, but it is very powerful. One disaster is a large wheat field. So Jiang Hao stopped his work, picked up the sickle in his hand, and crawled in. He wanted to see what this white thing was, but it actually ran into his house. As he walked towards something white, Jiang Hao observed and found that it had a white tail. When Jiang Hao realized that it was either a dog or a wolf, he had a conclusion in his heart. But aren't these wolves and dogs eating meat? Why are they in the wheat field? With doubts in his heart, Jiang Hao clenched the sickle in his hand and slowly approached the white object, preparing to give it a fatal blow. Approaching the white creature, Jiang Hao stopped and placed his hand on the last few grains of wheat separated from him. Then he suddenly peeled open the wheat and swung his sickle towards the white creature lying on the ground, wanting to give it a fatal blow without giving it any chance to escape. But the tip of the sickle suddenly turned at the last moment, brushing past the white creature. Of course, it was not that Jiang Hao's hands were trembling, but that he found an unconscious white fox lying on the ground. The fox was furry and very delicate, with a very large wound on its abdomen that spread from its chest to its lower abdomen. At this time, blood was continuously flowing from the wound. Fortunately, the wound was not very deep, it only tore open the outer layer of fur. Jiang Hao carefully placed his hand on the fox's chest and found that the fox still had a weak heartbeat, which should be salvageable. So Jiang Hao picked up the fox from the ground and found that it was holding a Ganoderma lucidum in its mouth. Lingji is very smooth and emits a faint light, indicating a very long vintage. This kind of thing is very helpful for the fox, a spiritual beast in the mountains. If you swallow it, it will definitely increase its cultivation. It seems that the scars on the fox's body are left by competing with other creatures for Ganoderma lucidum. Although the Ganoderma lucidum was snatched away, its body was severely injured. If Jiang Hao hadn't noticed it or someone else had discovered it, it might have been a disaster. Jiang Hao, after all, has recently traveled through time and still retains the kindness of being a modern person in his past life. He must have saved this fox. Little fox. Little fox. That's why you met me. If someone else finds out, they might grill you and eat it. After speaking, Jiang Hao had to reach out and take out the precious Lingji from its mouth. After all, this thing is very precious, and it can sell several hundred lower-grade Lingshi no matter what. If a fox is brought outside and discovered by someone with a heart, it will definitely cause unnecessary trouble. After all, the most evil thing is the human heart. Never overestimate human nature. This kind of thing that can become rich overnight will definitely have some people unable to suppress their greed. But the little fox bit very tightly, and Jiang Hao tugged several times without pulling out the Lingji. Jiang Hao didn't dare to use too much force, it wouldn't be worth the loss if the Lingji mushroom was damaged. So Jiang Hao could only calm the fox and whispered in its ear. "Let go, I won't take it. I'll give it back to you when you wake up." The unconscious white fox seemed to have heard Jiang Hao's words, and then slowly released its mouth. Jiang Hao also successfully took the Lingji out of the fox's mouth and put it in his pocket. Jiang Hao left the field holding a white fox and returned to his own home. The neighbors on the road also spoke up when they saw Jiang Hao holding a white fox. "Sure, Xiaozi, you can actually catch a fox. This fur must sell for a good price. It seems like I have some appetite tonight. Do you want to pair it with some good wine? If you want to drink, come to my store and I'll sell it to you at a cheaper price." Looking at the enthusiastic neighbors, Jiang Hao also responded positively and soon returned to his own home. Jiang's mother saw Jiang Hao returning home before the evening, and she also walked up to inquire about the reason. But when he saw Jiang Hao holding a white fox in his arms, his eyes suddenly began to light up, so he quickly came to Jiang Hao's side and said, "Oh my goodness, where did you get such a big fox from? This shiny fur definitely sells for a good price. Coincidentally, Xiao Jiao is pregnant. Use this fox meat to nourish her body." Chapter 4. Little Fox Awakens, 9 Tales. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Upon hearing Jiang's mother's words, Jiang Hao was speechless for a moment. The thinking of people in this world is really strange. How can they always associate it with eating? How could a cute little fox bear to eat it? How could a fox be so cute to eat? It's better for us to keep it. What's the use of raising it? We can't take care of our homes, and we have to eat meat every day. We can't even eat meat, so raising it requires an extra portion of food. It's okay, foxes have strong survival abilities and can find food on their own without us feeding them. Looking at Jiang's mother still frowning, Jiang Hao knew that without some means, Jiang's mother would definitely not agree. So Jiang Hao learned from the way he used to be lazy and said very rudely, "I don't care. I don't care. I have to raise it." Seeing Jiang Hao's appearance, Jiang's mother immediately panicked, afraid that Jiang Hao, who had just turned around, would become the same again. This was because being a fox was not worth it. Okay, I'll listen to you, this child." Upon hearing Jiang's mother's agreement, Jiang Hao stuck out his tongue and then carried the unconscious little fox into the room. Li Jiao in the room is taking care of her newborn son. The youngest son is not crying or making a fuss, and is very likable. When she heard Jiang Hao and Jiang's mother talking in the yard, Li Jiao also asked Jiang Hao who came in, "What are you and your mother talking about?" As soon as she finished speaking, Li Jiao noticed the white fox in Jiang Hao's arms, so she covered her mouth in surprise and said, "What a beautiful fox. Where did you get it from?" Jiang Hao came to the table inside the room and then placed the little fox on the table, then answered, "I picked it up from the field, and this little fox has been seriously injured. It has a big gash on its abdomen, something I don't know. Please see if you can sew it with a needle and thread. After a while, it will bleed to death." Upon hearing Jiang Hao's words, Li Jiao got up from the bed and went to the table to examine the little fox's abdomen, and indeed found a big hole. Li Jiao is also very kind. She immediately went to the cabinet and took out needles and thread to sew the wound on the little fox. Perhaps Li Jiao's technique was too unfamiliar, and she always trembled when the unconscious little fox sewed the wound. When Li Jiao was suturing the wound, Jiang Hao was not idle either. He went to the wild to pick some medicinal herbs, mainly yellow wax and rosin. The main functions of these two drugs are antibacterial and anti-inflammatory. After the wound is sutured and applied externally, the wound will definitely heal very quickly. After the treatment of Li Jiao and Jiang Hao, the little fox's wound was quickly healed. As for when the little fox wakes up, it depends on its own recovery ability. In the following days, Jiang Hao would harvest wheat in the field during the day, and at night he would practice the newly obtained tuna gong all night long. After a few days, Jiang Hao felt that his physical fitness had greatly improved. He was getting stronger and stronger while harvesting wheat in the fields. From the initial back pain to now, he is getting stronger and stronger as he dries. Even Jiang Hao felt a bit like sweating. Jiang Hao's body has also undergone significant changes, and his muscles have become increasingly prominent, like a muscular man who has been exercising for many years. Faced with Jiang Hao's changes, Li Jiao, who often comes into contact with him, was also very surprised. Every time, she couldn't help but reach out and stroke Jiang Hao's strong muscles. The little fox didn't know what was going on and didn't wake up for several days. Finally, on a night more than half a month later, Jiang Hao, who was sleeping, felt something sticking out his tongue and licking his face. He also felt a heavy burden on his chest, as if something was pressing down on him, making it difficult for him to catch his breath. Jiang Hao couldn't help but open his eyes and found the little fox lying on his chest, extending its pink tongue to affectionately lick Jiang Hao's face. Seeing the little fox wake up, Jiang Hao was also very surprised and said, "Little fox. You're awake." The little fox wagged its tail, then got up from Jiang Hao and sat on him, making a whimpering sound in its mouth. Then he stretched out his snow-white little head and rubbed against Jiang Hao's body. Seeing such a likable little fox, Jiang Hao also reached out to touch its belly. Li Jiao, who was beside Jiang Hao, also woke up slowly upon hearing the sound and showed a surprised expression when she saw the little fox waking up. She then reached out to touch the little fox's head. But the little fox seemed to dislike Li Jiao very much, and even bared its teeth and reached out its claws to grab Li Jiao's hand. Fortunately, Li Jiao withdrew her hand in time, otherwise she would definitely have been scratched by the little fox. Jiang Hao smiled as he looked at the little fox with different attitudes towards the two of them. I didn't expect the little fox to like handsome guys. Let me see if you're male or female." The little fox seemed to understand Jiang Hao's words and turned its butt towards him. Watching the seductive movements of the little fox, Jiang Hao was immediately stunned. He didn't expect the little fox to cooperate so well, so he quickly said, Okay, I'm teasing you. Turn around quickly." Jiang Hao had long known the gender of the little fox. It was a female fox, and looking at its graceful figure and very high appearance, Jiang Hao knew the joy of King Zhou in the past. After carrying the little fox into his bed, Jiang Hao fell asleep again. After all, it was early morning and Jiang Hao was still very sleepy. After a while, the sound of steady breathing rang out, and Jiang Hao fell into a deep sleep. At this moment, the little fox in the bed seemed to know that Jiang Hao was asleep. It carefully crawled out of the bed and looked at Jiang Hao, who was asleep. Then, it jumped off the bed and crawled out of the window. At this time, it was the 15th day of the lunar calendar, and the moon outside was round and bright. The whole earth seemed to be covered in white clothes, and it was in a white and vast state. The originally snow-white little fox appeared even paler under the moonlight. Under the moonlight, the little fox jumped onto the roof of Jiang Hao's house and looked around, only to see no one around. Surprisingly, the furry tail of the little fox suddenly dispersed and became 9. Originally, little foxes have always had 9 tails, but in normal times these 9 tails are tightly attached together, which makes it appear to have only one tail. In addition, the little fox's tail is not long and fluffy, making it even more difficult to see that it has 9 tails. After spreading its 9 tails, the little fox danced freely in the air, seemingly enjoying the moment very much. A relaxed expression appeared on its furry face. If you observe carefully, you can see that at this moment, the little fox's eyes are emitting a faint purple light, appearing beautiful and mysterious. Chapter 5. Breakthrough, Fire Control Technique. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In this way, the little fox lived at Jiang Hao's house for the next few months. Faced with the lively and lovely little fox, Jiang's mother, who originally didn't like it, changed her mind and began to cultivate and accept it. What surprised Jiang Hao was that the little fox really liked to lick Jiang Hao's face. The Ganoderma lucidum that originally belonged to the little fox was also returned by Jiang Hao to the little fox. The little fox who saw Lingji was also surprised and swallowed the fist-sized Lingji in one gulp. The little fox who vomited Lingji also slept for several days. After waking up, except for feeling more energetic and shiny fur, there was no other change. In the past few months, Jiang Hao has also been continuously practicing tuna gong. One night, he felt something inside his body break open, and it seemed that he had also gained a special force. Just as Jiang Hao was puzzled, the sound of the system suddenly came to his mind. Congratulations to the host for breaking through the Qi Refining Realm Level 1. Reward: 10 Inferior Spirit Stones. Life expectancy of 10 years. Spell: Fire Control Technique. Upon hearing the system's prompt sound, Jiang Hao also understood the reason for his abnormal body, and it turned out to be a breakthrough. A layer of Qi Cultivation Realm. System: How is the realm of this world divided? Ding ding. We are testing the cultivation realm of this world for the system. Detection completed. The cultivation realm of this world is mainly divided into Qi Cultivation Realm, Foundation Building Realm, Alchemy Formation Realm, Elemental Baby Realm, Spiritual Transformation Realm, Void Realm, Combination Realm, Mahayana Realm, and Crossing Calamity Realm. Each realm has different ways to break through, and the host needs to explore on their own. The host is currently in the Qi Refining Realm and is searching for information about the Qi Refining Realm in the host's world. The Qi Refining Realm is divided into 9 levels, which mainly exercises the host's ability to control spiritual power and spiritual strength. Upon hearing a series of introductions to the system, Jiang Hao also gained a certain understanding of the realm of refining gas. Jiang Hao clenched his fist and placed it in front of him, then closed his eyes and slowly controlled the spiritual power inside his body. Soon, his fist was filled with spiritual power. Although these spiritual powers are all transparent, Jiang Hao can clearly feel the existence of spiritual power. Jiang Hao felt that if an ordinary person were punched by him, even if he didn't die, it would definitely be a comminuted fracture. Jiang Hao, who was very fond of the Super Saiyan before his travels, was also excited in his heart. This is spiritual power, it's so exciting, ha ha ha. Feeling the spiritual power on his fist, Jiang Hao searched for his target and suddenly looked at the nearby wall. This punch won't leave a hole in the wall. As he spoke, Jiang Hao came to the side of the wall, spotted a spot on the wall, and then punched heavily. Dust suddenly flew up, and a lot of dust shook off the wall. A very obvious fist print appeared on the wall. Jiang Hao felt uneasy as he looked at the fist imprint on the wall. If Jiang's mother had noticed this, she would have inevitably criticized him again. So Jiang Hao quickly moved the cabinet next to him and blocked the fist print. Although it couldn't be unknown to Jiang's mother forever, it was only for a while before he could hide, and he would make up for it when he had the opportunity. Fortunately, the sound made was not very loud and did not startle the two of them. However, the little fox was attracted by the commotion made by Jiang Hao. He jumped directly into Jiang Hao's room from the window and sat on the table inside, looking very quietly at Jiang Hao as he was moving the cabinet. Jiang Hao also said to the little fox when he saw it, "Little fox, you haven't seen anything." After confirming that he would not be discovered, Jiang Hao took out the book called Fire Control Technique again. After reading for a while, Jiang Hao understood that the content recorded in Fire Control Technique, just like its name, was to teach people how to master the method of transforming spiritual power into fire, and then form various forms of attacks through the evolved flowers. This fire control technique is very simple. Jiang Hao studied it briefly according to the content of the book, and now he has basically mastered the way spiritual power transforms fire. Looking at the flames appearing in his hand, Jiang Hao looked at the little fox beside him. "Little fox, look at the fire in my hand, it's amazing." Wild animals are very afraid of flames. They thought the little fox would look panicked and they saw flames, but they didn't expect the little fox to not be afraid, but instead came to observe carefully in front of Jiang Hao's hand, which was emitting spiritual fire. Then he blew a soft breath, and the spiritual fire in Jiang Hao's hand went out. Upon seeing this scene, Jiang Hao was immediately stunned. According to the record in Fire Control Technique, spiritual fire is difficult to extinguish. Even when encountering water, it will not extinguish because the energy source of spiritual fire is spiritual power. As long as the spiritual power output is uninterrupted, the spiritual fire will not extinguish. It can only be extinguished by using stronger spiritual power. And the little fox just blew a breath and extinguished the spiritual fire, obviously containing even more powerful spiritual power than Jiang Hao in this breath. Looking at the little fox licking his face, Jiang Hao was greatly shocked. He didn't expect that the little fox he had raised for several months would be such a powerful spiritual beast. Fortunately, the little fox is very gentle and knows how to repay kindness. Otherwise, his family and even the entire village would have been killed. Jiang Hao touched the little fox's head, and the fox's mouth also made a whimpering sound. I didn't expect Jiang Hao to easily save a small animal and bring in a bodyguard. Is it possible that this is the benefit of the Qi luck bonus? It's too strong, and only a small bonus has given me such a big opportunity. If there were a bonus of 180%, it wouldn't be a huge blow. Thinking of this, Jiang Hao quickly found his mother Jiang and Li Jiao, discussed with them, and prepared to take another concubine. Take another concubine. Upon hearing Jiang Hao's idea, Jiang's mother and Li Jiao couldn't help but look at each other, unaware that Jiang Hao's brain had suddenly strayed in the wrong direction and he remembered this incident. Although it is very normal for men to take concubines in this world, it is usually something that only people from relatively affluent families can do. If a man from a typical family wants to take a concubine, he can only pay a higher dowry, otherwise why would a woman make you a concubine? However, you also know the family conditions of our family. This concubine. Before Jiang's mother could finish speaking, Jiang Hao quickly interrupted her and said, "Mother, don't worry about the money. Just leave it to me, and you can help me find good people to choose from." Looking at her son's confident appearance, Jiang's mother's brain spun wildly, and bad ideas appeared in her mind. However, you can't commit crimes just because of money, because it's not worth it. Chapter 6. Bandits entering the village, Little Fox showing divine power. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Jiang Hao looked at his mother Jiang, who had a big imagination, and also reluctantly touched his own head. With such imagination, not going to the brain region to be an author is simply a waste of talent. Finally, Jiang Hao could only use a little fox as a cover, indicating that the little fox could find many spiritual medicines to sell for money, which dispelled Jiang Mu and Li Jiao's suspicion. Jiang's mother is also very reliable. The day after Jiang Hao explained this matter, she found a good girl from a family. This girl is named Xiaoya. She is not only very beautiful, but also quite decent. Xiaoya's family was originally very happy, but because their location was too far from the village, they were targeted by bandits. Although Xiaoya escaped unharmed, her parents and one brother were all killed by the bandits, leaving her alone in the whole family. Because the money was stolen by bandits and I couldn't live alone, I had the idea of marrying myself off and using my dowry to house my family. Just as the news was released, Jiang's mother came knocking on her door. Xiaoya was feeling disheartened and not very picky about the other party's family. As long as the other party could pay for the funeral expenses, she agreed to marry Jiang Hao directly. The villagers who arrived late pounded their chests and feet one by one, hating themselves for being one step late, otherwise this cheap daughter.in.law would be their own. After meeting Xiaoya, Jiang Hao agreed directly. He is not picky about people, as long as the other person has no bad intentions or hobbies. And the other party's settlement fee is also very cheap, which can be solved without Jiang Hao using his own inferior spirit stone. What disappointed Jiang Hao was that Xiaoya, like Li Jiao, also had no spiritual roots. However, this was also expected, as it was very difficult to find a woman with spiritual roots in this remote and impoverished place. 3 days later, Jiang Hao also held a wedding and married Xiaoya into his family. The villagers watched as Jiang Hao, who was not from a very well-off family, married another family and also exclaimed that this kid had bad luck. How could anything good happen to Jiang Hao? A month later, Xiaoya's stomach also moved. Just when Jiang Hao was happy about having another heir, something bad happened and he came to the door. One night, two people dressed in black clothes with thief-like eyebrows and mouse eyes arrived outside the village. According to intelligence, there is a boy named Jiang Hao in this village who not only married 2 wives, but also has a white fox at home. How about we go grab it on the way? 2 women and a white fox. Isn't it too unworthy, because this adventure is completely unnecessary. In this world, villages outside cities are very united. When faced with threatening people or spiritual beasts, they will unite because they can only survive by huddling together for warmth. Although it is currently night, if the 2 of them go into the village to rob and are found, they will definitely not be able to leave alive. What are you afraid of? Let me tell you, these 2 women are very useful. Their biggest characteristic is that they can give birth. Our boss hasn't had my child for so long. If we take these 2 women back and give them to the boss, if the boss can have a son, then we will have to reward the 2 of us heavily. Originally, the 2 of them were bandits from the mountain. While working for the bandit leader, they passed by this village and wanted to sneak in to make some profit. The other bandit also felt somewhat reasonable upon hearing this. Sure, and the 2 of us, the white fox, can still make a profit and enrich our wallets. Let's do it then. After making up their minds, the 2 of them walked into the village and headed straight to the location of Jiang Hao's family. After arriving at the entrance of Jiang Hao's house, the 2 of them focused on the wall beside them, took a brisk step, jumped up, and then landed steadily in the yard. During this process, the voices of the 2 were very quiet, indicating that it was definitely not their first time doing such a thing. Looking at the tightly closed door of the house, the 2 of them drew their long knives from their waists and cautiously approached the house, fearing to disturb Jiang Hao who was sleeping inside. Although in their view, the 2 of them could easily solve Jiang Hao, his loud voice was too loud to attract other villagers, which caused trouble. Just as the 2 approached the house, a white figure jumped out of the window, which was the little fox raised by Jiang Hao. The sudden appearance of the figure startled both of them, thinking they had been discovered, and even their slow-moving footsteps stopped. But when they fixed their eyes on it, they didn't expect it to be a white fox, and they breathed a sigh of relief. One of the bandits showed kindness and slowly walked towards the little fox, trying to catch it directly. But just as he arrived in front of the little fox, his breath changed and a majestic spiritual power appeared on him. The 9 tails spread out in an instant, waving freely in the air, and the purple light in their eyes shone brightly. Seeing the change of the little fox, the bandit felt uneasy and quickly retreated backwards. But how could the little fox give him a chance to escape? He pounced directly at him, then stretched out his sharp claws and lightly scratched his neck. With a scream, the bandit fell to the ground without a sound. The other bandit was also frightened when he saw such a strong little fox, turned around and ran away with big strides, regardless of whether there was any loud noise. How could the little fox allow the bandits to leave and run quickly? The bandits had not yet left the yard when they were bitten to death by a bite in the neck by the little fox. The 4 sleeping people inside also heard the screams coming from outside, so they quickly got up, got dressed, and went out to check the situation. Sure enough, they found the bodies of 2 bandits in the yard. The 2 daughter-in-law were surprised and covered their mouths. They didn't understand why there were 2 corpses in their home. Jiang Hao, who had never seen such a scene before, couldn't help but tremble. He looked at his mother beside him and said with a trembling voice, "Mother, the person is dead." On the contrary, Jiang's mother appeared very calm. She came to the sides of the 2 to examine their wounds. After a thorough examination, she learned about their identities and the cause of their death. These 2 should be bandits from the mountain. They must have taken a liking to something in our house and came to rob our house. As for how they died. As he spoke, he looked at the quiet little fox sitting on the ground beside him. Everyone present immediately understood what it meant, especially Li Jiao and Zhaoya. He didn't expect the harmless little fox to have such strong strength. Jiang Hao couldn't help feeling scared as he looked at the long knives in the hands of the 2 bandits. Fortunately, the little fox solved these two bandits, otherwise our whole family would be in danger. After calming down for a while, several people began to tidy up these two corpses. Chapter 7. Moving, Beginner Alchemy. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After putting the two corpses on the small cart, he took advantage of the darkness and walked directly towards the outside of the village, then dug a pit in a deserted mountain ditch to bury them. I was very careful when doing these things and didn't make any noise. Jiang Hao was worried that if the news of the bandits dying here spread, he would definitely face retaliation from the bandits. If more bandits come, he will suffer. But the next day, Jiang Hao still felt something was wrong. Why did the bandits come to his house? My own home is also in the center of the village, so if the bandits randomly rob, they will definitely pick people from the outskirts of the village. This not only reduces the chance of being discovered, but also makes it more convenient to escape. Coming straight towards one's own home must have been premeditated, and arriving so accurately at one's own home must be an insider of bandits in the village, and the deaths of these two people will also be discovered sooner or later. Thinking of this, Jiang Hao felt the need to move out quickly and go to a safer place. Where is the safest place? It must be within the nearest green city to my village. There are not only towering city walls inside the city, but also very powerful garrison troops guarding it. No matter what, bandits will not reach into the city. So Jiang Hao quickly notified a few people to pack up and plan to live in the city. After learning about the causes and consequences from Jiang Hao's mouth, Jiang's mother and several others also agreed to his idea. After packing up their things, Jiang Hao took advantage of the darkness and arrived outside the green city unnoticed. Finally, when the city gate opened at dawn, Jiang Hao led a few people into the green city. Because it's morning, there are still very few people on the streets of Greentown, and there are hardly any people in sight. A few people who arrived in the city headed straight to the place where the green city was selling houses, preparing to purchase a yard to live in. Greentown is a remote small town, and houses are still very cheap. Finally, I spent 10 inferior spirit stones to buy a very large courtyard, which was newly built in recent years. The houses in the courtyard are large enough for dozens of people to live in. Jiang's mother and several others were also shocked and they saw that Jiang Hao could easily pull out the inferior spirit stone. A lower grade spirit stone can be exchanged for 10 taels of gold, which is approximately 100 taels of silver. For convenience, let's calculate it this way. When they asked where the spirit stone came from, Jiang Hao could only use the little fox as a shield again. After settling down in his residence, Jiang Hao led a few others to buy some high-end clothes and jewelry. After all, living in such a large courtyard, wearing tattered linen clothes would definitely be suspected. Moreover, now there is no shortage of money, and it is time to enjoy it. After buying some daily necessities, Jiang Hao returned home with a few people, preparing to stay at home for a few more days to avoid the storm. A few months later, Li Jiao's second heir was also born smoothly, and without any surprise, another heir without spiritual roots. Congratulations to the host for obtaining an spiritual root descendant reward. 10 inferior spirit stones with a lifespan of 3 years. Now Jiang Hao has 29 inferior spirit stones in his hands, as well as some gold and silver, which can be said to be very abundant for living. After allowing Li Jiao to have offspring again, Jiang Hao decided to continue taking concubines. Only by increasing the number of concubines can the number of his own offspring increase significantly, and the rewards provided by the system be better. After Jiang's mother's multiple inquiries, 2 families agreed to marry their daughters to Jiang Hao as concubines, but the dowry in the city is much more expensive than that in the countryside. Moreover, she still serves as a concubine for others, and the dowry has increased significantly. After negotiations, the 2 households demanded a dowry of about 2 inferior spirit stones. Jiang Hao couldn't help but sigh. Getting married and getting rich after holding separate weddings with the 2, Jiang Hao's number of concubines also increased to 4. 1 year later, the 4 of them gave birth to offspring, and Jiang Hao also received 40 inferior spirit stones and a lifespan of 12 years. Jiang Hao's number of offspring also reached 6, and none of them had spiritual roots, which was not surprising. For the newly obtained 5 points, Jiang Hao also focused all of them on Qi Yun. As the time came, Jiang Hao once again took in a concubine, and the number of concubines also reached 5. At this moment, the sound of the system also sounded in Jiang Hao's mind. Congratulations to the host for having 5 concubines, received the title of Birthday Team. Reward: a medium-grade spirit stone. 10-year lifespan. 1 book of Primary Alchemy. Elementary Alchemy. Upon hearing the sound of system rewards, Jiang Hao directly extracted the basic alchemy from the system and watched it to his heart's content. Looking at the content recorded in Primary Alchemy, Jiang Hao was excited because alchemists are a very rare profession in this world, and rarity represents high value. As the saying goes, rarity is precious. As long as you master alchemy, there will be a continuous stream of spiritual stones in your account. It will be much more convenient for you to suddenly have money on your body and take concubines in the future. After understanding these, Jiang Hao began to study this book Elementary Alchemy day and night. There are a total of 9 levels for ordinary alchemists, with the lowest being level 1. If you master all of this elementary alchemy, you can reach level 3. To achieve higher levels of alchemy, one can only rely on system rewards. But now in this remote little place, reaching level 1 is enough. After reading the entire book, Jiang Hao decided to go to the Chamber of Commerce to purchase some simple stoves and materials. After all, alchemy is a hands-on process. Even if you read a book clearly, you cannot master the techniques of alchemy without hands-on experience. Jiang Hao arrived at a small chamber of commerce in Greentown and purchased several materials based on the formula of the first.Order elixir, Qi refining pill, recorded in Primary Alchemy. These materials of the Qi refining pill are still very common and very cheap. You can buy quite a few portions with just a few taels of silver. If it weren't for being in the city, when he was in the village before, Jiang Hao could have gone up the mountain and found everything himself. Jiang Hao, carrying a large bag of materials and a small alchemy furnace on his back, excitedly walked towards his home. As he walked on the road, Jiang Hao had already imagined that he would earn a lot after becoming an alchemist, and that he would marry a large number of concubines to reach the pinnacle of his life. Unexpectedly, Jiang Hao noticed a beggar sitting on the roadside. If it were an ordinary beggar, Jiang Hao wouldn't care, but this is a female beggar, and Jiang Hao, who has spiritual power, clearly feels that there is a spiritual root in the woman's body. Based on the spiritual power fluctuations emitted by the spiritual roots, Jiang Hao can be very certain that the spiritual root quality of this female beggar is similar to himself. Chapter 8. The Indifferent Female Beggar, Wen Dan. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. It should also be a talent of inferior Huang Lingzhen. Moreover, Jiang Hao felt strong spiritual fluctuations in the woman's body, and he speculated that the woman should have cultivation in her body. Now Jiang Hao didn't understand how a cultivator with cultivation could fall into begging on the street. Jiang Hao came to the woman and greeted her. "Girl, why are you sitting here?" The woman didn't pay attention to Jiang Hao and sat quietly on the ground as before. Her fluffy and disheveled hair covered most of her face, and Jiang Hao stood in front of her, unable to see her face and expression clearly. Seeing that the other party ignored him, Jiang Hao placed the things in his hand on the ground and reached out to try to unravel the hair on the woman's face. Unexpectedly, as soon as Jiang Hao's hand reached out, the woman grabbed his wrist very quickly and then whispered a sentence. "Don't move, stay away from me." After speaking, he let go of Jiang Hao's hand. Seeing the woman's action, Jiang Hao couldn't help but mutter. He is indeed a master. This further inspired Jiang Hao to want to understand the idea of a woman who possesses spiritual roots, indicating that her parents also possess spiritual roots. So her grandparents and grandparents also have spiritual roots, so maybe her 8 aunts and 7 aunts will also have spiritual roots. It can be said that as long as he gets along with her, Jiang Hao can meet many women with spiritual roots. Therefore, Jiang Hao is determined to meet this woman and establish a deep relationship with her. Seeing the other party being so indifferent, Jiang Hao could only change his strategy. Like a female beggar, Jiang Hao sat directly on the ground. "Miss, what's your name? Are you interested in getting to know me?" The woman glanced at Jiang Hao upon hearing his words and did not respond. "Miss, please have a word. I am also a cultivator. If you need any help, please let me know. Maybe I can help you." Upon hearing that Jiang Hao was also a cultivator, the woman whispered. "What's the use of telling you? You only have one level of cultivation in the qi refining realm. Miss, don't you look down on people. I'm about to become a man of alchemy." Upon hearing the 3 words alchemist, the woman glanced at the small alchemy furnace on Jiang Hao's back, as well as the materials used for alchemy placed aside. "Are you sure you're an alchemist?" Jiang Hao scratched his own head and replied. "It's coming soon, I'm learning, it's coming soon." The woman sneered and then said. "Alchemists are not so easy to learn. If they could learn with their mouths, alchemists would have been rampant long ago. Well, if I become an alchemist, you can tell me your name and come home with me." "Okay, if you can become an alchemist, I promise you everything." Looking at the woman's casual appearance, it was obvious that he didn't believe Jiang Hao's words, but Jiang Hao wasn't angry either. The other party was a cultivator, and if he didn't show any ability, why would the other party take a liking to him? "Are you still here tomorrow?" "I will not only be here tomorrow, but also the day after tomorrow and the day after tomorrow." "Okay, then you can wait here for me to marry you back home, ha ha ha." After speaking, Jiang Hao got up and picked up his belongings and went home. The woman looked at Jiang Hao's departure and shook her head helplessly, muttering to herself. Young people nowadays are becoming increasingly unaware of the vastness of the world. Upon returning home, Jiang Hao found a room, prepared various things, and began learning alchemy. Jiang Hao followed the steps written in Primary Alchemy, and operated step by step. If others want to learn alchemy, they also need to learn how to control flames, but Jiang Hao doesn't need it because he has learned fire control technique before, and he can be said to be proficient in controlling fire. According to Primary Alchemy, as long as you master the heat, this pill will be refined into 80%. Jiang Hao carefully controlled the heat and followed the steps in the book step by step to put various materials into the alchemy furnace in front of him. After putting the last material in, a burst of Dan fragrance suddenly emanated from the Dan furnace. Upon smelling this fragrance, Jiang Hao knew that his furnace's qi refining pill had been refined, and based on the concentration of the pill's fragrance, the quality of the pill was not low. While waiting for the alchemy furnace to cool down, Jiang Hao wiped the sweat off his forehead. It goes without saying that alchemy consumes a lot of spiritual power. Just after refining a furnace, he was sweating profusely. It seems that in order to last longer, higher cultivation is needed. After a while, the alchemy furnace had cooled down and Jiang Hao carefully opened it. I saw 10 pills lying quietly inside a pile of black residue. Jiang Hao took out 10 pills from the alchemy furnace, and the texture of this thing was as warm as roasted sweet potatoes in northeast China. Jiang Hao carefully observed the pills and found that they all had patterns on them. From Primary Alchemy, Jiang Hao knew that the pills refined by alchemists also had quality, including cracked pills, whole pills, and patterned pills. Cracking pills refer to the appearance of cracks on a pill, which results in a significant loss of its efficacy and is the worst quality pill. Quan Dan, on the other hand, is a round and flawless pill that can be steadily refined to produce this quality. It can be said that one has completely mastered the method of refining this type of pill, and most alchemists are at this stage. The pattern pill is based on the whole pill, and the effect of this pill is twice that of the whole pill. It is very difficult to refine the pattern pill, and only a very small number of people can refine it. Moreover, the pattern pills are also graded, with the more patterns, the higher the quality, up to 6 patterns. The Qi refining pill in Jiang Hao's hand has 2 patterns. Although it is still far from the highest quality 6 pattern pill, it is already very powerful for a beginner. Jiang Hao took out a pill and took it directly. He was in the Qi refining realm and saw the effectiveness of the Qi refining pill. After taking the pill, Jiang Hao sat cross-legged on the ground to exercise his spiritual power. At the moment when the pill entered his stomach, a very powerful spiritual power spread from his stomach to other parts of his body. In an instant, Jiang Hao felt his body warm and full of strength. The cultivation that was originally slowly improving has also rapidly increased at this moment, instantly breaking through to the cultivation level of the second level of the Qi refining realm. Feeling the strengthening cultivation in my body again, I instantly became excited. This is the speed at which the time traveler improves their cultivation. Jiang Hao can be certain that if he had this Qi refining pill to assist him in his cultivation, he could reach the next level within a year. A year may sound like a long time, but Jiang Hao has just finished producing Huangling Gen. Chapter 9. Liu Fen, Past. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After improving his cultivation, Jiang Hao's spiritual power instantly returned to its peak state. Taking this opportunity, Jiang Hao refined 2 more pots of elixirs. These 2 pots of elixirs have reached the quality of 3 stripes and 1 stripe. Jiang Hao can be said to have become more confident as he practiced. However, the spiritual power in his body could no longer support him to continue refining, so he had to give up. After tidying up his things, Jiang Hao took these 20.9 pills to the female beggar he had just met, to see if he could conquer her with his talent. The female beggar looked at Jiang Hao, who was going back and forth, and also spoke up. "What's going on? You came to me so quickly, can you possibly refine a pill?" During the conversation, the female beggar also sensed the increased spiritual power fluctuations on Jiang Hao's body and exclaimed in surprise. "Are you on the second level of the Qi refining realm?" Jiang Hao chuckled and replied. "It's just the second level of the Qi refining realm. It's very easy for me to achieve it. I came back here to show you something." After speaking, Jiang Hao took out a wooden box from his pocket and handed it to the female beggar in front of him. The female beggar, seeing Jiang Hao's excited expression, was also very curious about what this kid wanted to show herself. So she took the wooden box from Jiang Hao's hand and casually opened it. As a result, she saw 20.9 Qi refining pills neatly placed in the wooden box. The female beggar picked up a 3-grain Qi refining pill and carefully examined it in front of her. Is this the 3 stripes Qi refining pill? Did you refine it?" Jiang Hao nodded and answered. "Of course, I'm not very strong. Just starting to learn alchemy, I can refine the 3-stripe Qi refining pill." The female beggar stared into Jiang Hao's eyes for a while, looking at the clarity in his eyes. She felt that the other person was not deceiving her, but she still didn't believe it. How could there be such an alchemy genius in this remote and impoverished place? "You probably bought pills from the Chamber of Commerce and then fooled me in front of me, right? How could it be? If you don't believe me, feel the pill. It's still warm on top, obviously it's something I just refined." The female beggar placed her hand on these pills and indeed felt the warmth emanating from them, and these pills also had a very obvious Dan fragrance. Dan Xiang will be possessed when the pill is just refined, and as time goes on, the Dan Xiang of the pill will gradually fade away, eventually losing it completely. It is obvious that these pills have just been refined. Watching the female beggar stand still, Jiang Hao tentatively asked. "How about you come home with me now?" "Sure, but I want to see with my own eyes the process of refining pills." Jiang Hao waved his hand and answered with a happy expression on his face. "No problem, I promise to meet you." After the two agreed, they returned to the Jiang family together. The female beggar was dressed very shabby and dirty all over, while Jiang Hao was dressed in very good silk clothes, making them look out of place when walking together. Pedestrians on the road also turned their heads to show curiosity when they saw two people walking together. After arriving at the Jiang family, the two of them headed straight to Jiang Hao's alchemy room. Jiang Hao began to demonstrate the process of alchemy to the female beggar, and the process went very smoothly. In the end, Jiang Hao even refined the 4-pattern qi refining pill, which surprised the female beggar next to him. Seeing that Jiang Hao's alchemy talent woman also agreed to Jiang Hao's request, she decided to join the Jiang family. "I can be your concubine, but you need to think carefully. I am an unfortunate person and may bring you bad luck." "Bad luck? What kind of bad luck?" So the female beggar told Jiang Hao about her past. The female beggar's name is Liu Fen, and she is an ordinary disciple of the Qingshan sect. At the age of 7, when bandits entered the village, all her family members were killed by the bandits, leaving only her alive. Later, the elders of the Qingshan sect, also known as Liu Hui's master, saw that Liu Hui had spiritual roots and took her in. Liu Fen was very happy in the Castle Peak sect. The elder martial sisters took care of her very much. Even the eldest martial brother of the Castle Peak sect liked her very much. You should know that senior brother is very handsome, but he is the dream lover of all female disciples in the sect. As a result, while accompanying Liu Fen down the mountain for training, he encountered a powerful evil cultivator. In order to help Liu Fen escape, the senior brother had to sacrifice his own life. And once, when Liu Hui's master brought Liu Hui and some senior brothers and sisters down the mountain, they encountered evil cultivation again. Without any accidents, only Liu Hui escaped, and both the master and senior brothers and sisters passed away. So all the people in the sect believed that Liu Fen was an ominous person, and all the people close to her died. In the end, they directly drove Liu Fen down the mountain. Liu Fen also developed a deep sense of self-doubt. In order not to harm her, Liu Fen could only become a beggar on the street, hoping to spend the rest of her life there. Unexpectedly, I met Jiang Hao by chance. How about it? Do you still want to marry me after knowing all about me? Upon hearing about Liu Fen's past, Jiang Hao deeply grasped the grass. The fate of this girl was truly tragic, and everyone around her had died. If ordinary people had been hesitant for a long time, but what kind of person is Jiang Hao? He has a bonus system and his current luck is very strong. He should be able to compete with Liu Fenzhong no matter what. Of course, what I like is your person. I am willing to die for you. Really? You haven't even seen my face, so you're not afraid that I'm ugly. After finishing speaking, Liu Fen moved his scattered hair from front to the side, and then a face full of cracks appeared in front of Jiang Hao. Jiang Hao was stunned by how long it has been since she washed her face. Although it was covered in dirt, from her facial features, Liu Fen was still very beautiful. Later, Jiang Hao took her to take a shower and found her a whole outfit. It must be said that the cleaned Liu Fen is really beautiful, and there is no woman in the family who can match her. The washed pretty face was very fair and tender, like the egg white of a cooked egg, bouncing and breaking, and his figure was even more amazing. Jiang Hao, with his small waist, felt like he could grab it with just one pinch, and he looked very spiritual. Perhaps due to a long-term gloomy mood, Liu Fen's complexion is somewhat unpleasant. Jiang Hao also inquired about Liu Fen's cultivation and found out that his cultivation had reached the 7th level of the qi refining realm. With Liu Fen's joining, the Jiang family's strength had greatly improved. Jiang's mother was even more overjoyed when she saw the beautiful Liu Fen, silently praising her son's true ability to find such a beautiful daughter. Lol. A few days later, the two of them held a wedding, and Liu Fen successfully married into the Jiang family. However, because Liu Fen had fewer relatives, the scene was relatively cold, with only a few members of the Jiang family present. Chapter 10. Redstone Chamber of Commerce, Cooperation. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. If Liu Fen is brought into the family for a month, he will have offspring. Liu Fen is a natural talent of the lower grade Huangling Gen, and Jiang Hao also has a spiritual root, so there is a high probability that he can obtain offspring with spiritual roots this time. Originally, Qing Shan's sect only provided 10 lower grade spirit stones and 10 full pill quality pill resources per month. Now, after joining the Jiang family, we have fully managed the pill resources. Even if we eat the qi refining pill as a meal, we cannot finish it. Our cultivation level has grown rapidly due to miso. This is bad for Liu Fen. Is this the life of marrying an alchemist? She couldn't help but secretly rejoice in her heart that she had found a suitable stool. Jiang Hao watched Liu Fen's mood improve as she practiced, and also reminded her not to practice excessively and to pay attention to the children in her belly. After explaining everything, Jiang Hao prepared to go to the Chamber of Commerce in the city to discuss a big deal. Although the spiritual stones at home are sufficient now, they are only sufficient. If Jiang Hao and Liu Fen use the spiritual stones, the reward for giving birth will not be enough. So the top priority is for Jiang Hao to use his identity as an alchemist to make some spirit stones. And if you have your own spirit stone, it will also be much more convenient to take a concubine. Jiang Hao headed straight to the largest chamber of commerce in Greentown. The Hongsha Chamber of Commerce. This Chamber of Commerce is a national chain chamber of commerce and the largest chamber of commerce in the entire Qingyao country. As the saying goes, the larger the ship, the more stable it is to operate. Only by cooperating with such a large chamber of commerce can one gain more profits. After arriving at the Redstone Chamber of Commerce, Jiang Hao went straight to the front desk waiter and felt the spiritual fluctuations emanating from the other person's body. Jiang Hao couldn't help but marvel, truly a great chamber of commerce, even a front desk has spiritual roots. The waitress is very beautiful, dressed in white clothes and looks very capable. Seeing Jiang Hao walking towards him, he also said enthusiastically, "Hello young master, may I help you?" Jiang Hao also came straight to the point and told her. "Hello, could you please help me contact you? You are in charge and I have a pill business that I would like to cooperate with your Chamber of Commerce." Upon hearing that Jiang Hao was here to cooperate, the waitress also became enthusiastic about him and took him to a separate room dedicated to receiving distinguished guests. After delivering a pot of tea, Jiang Hao was asked to wait for a moment and she went to contact their branch president. After a while, the waitress brought the branch president to the single room where Jiang Hao was located. The branch president is a man with a beard and an appearance of about 50 years old. After seeing Jiang Hao, the branch leader warmly approached and greeted him. "Hello little brother, I am Jin Shan, the sub-president of the Green City Redstone Chamber of Commerce." "I don't know what you call me, little brother." Jiang Hao, sitting in the chair, also stood up and answered back and forth when he heard the words of the branch president Jin Shan. "My name is Jiang Hao." "Jiang Hao. Good name. I heard you have a pill business that you want to cooperate with our Chamber of Commerce. I don't know what kind of cooperation method it is. I am an alchemist and would like to sell the pills I have refined to the Chamber of Commerce. I am not sure if your Chamber of Commerce has any intention of cooperating. Are you an alchemist?" Upon hearing Jiang Hao's words, Jin Shan carefully examined him and then a hint of disappointment appeared on his face, saying, "Our Chamber of Commerce has already saturated the supply of all Dan quality refining pills. If you want to cooperate, I'm afraid." Seeing the performance of the sub-chairman Jin Shan, Jiang Hao knew he was being looked down upon, but this was also reasonable. After all, in the eyes of most people, only some older seniors can refine pills with the quality of one Dan. At the age of Jiang Hao, being able to refine a full pill is already very impressive. So Jiang Hao took out a handful of pills from his arms and handed them to Jin Shan sitting across from him. Jin Shan saw Jiang Hao handing him something and quickly reached out to pick it up. He thought it was something, but he didn't expect it to be some qi refining pills. If it were an ordinary qi refining pill, it wouldn't be much, but this one can be considered a pattern pill, with various patterns ranging from 1 to 6. After carefully examining the pill in his hand, Jin Shan said to Jiang Hao with a shocked expression on his face. "Is this what you refined?" Jiang Hao nodded and answered. "Yeah, the technology is not very good, it can't stabilize the 6 patterns yet." Upon hearing Jiang Hao's pretentious words, Jin Shan's expression was full of disbelief. You should know that ordinary people are already unbelievable when it comes to refining pattern pills, but Jiang Hao actually wants to steadily refine 6 pattern pills. However, judging from the quality of this pill, it is not impossible. I didn't expect the Jiang Hao brothers' alchemy skills to be so superb, it's my awkwardness. Seeing Jin Shan apologizing to him, Jiang Hao couldn't help but marvel that Jin Shan is truly a branch president and can even apologize to a younger generation. The reason why the Redstone Chamber of Commerce can do so big is not without reason. Senior, it's very normal to say so. After all, no one would have thought that as a young person, I could refine the pattern pill. To get to the point, our way of cooperation. Subsequently, Jin Shan provided Jiang Hao with a cooperation plan. According to Jin Shan's intention, their Redstone Chamber of Commerce only accepts the grain pill in Jiang Hao's hand, and purchases the qi refining pill in Jiang Hao's hand at the price of 2 lower-grade spirit stones for 1 grain pill, for lower-grade spirit stones for 2 grain pills, and so on. This price is still very fair, it is a normal acquisition price. Due to the fact that for every additional grain on the grain pill, the effect of the pill will double, so the price of the pill will also double. In addition, the Redstone Chamber of Commerce also stated that it can provide Jiang Hao with a free alchemy furnace and materials for refining pills. These are all small coins, compared to the refined pills, they can be said to be a drop in the bucket. Jin Shan also gave Jiang Hao a green token, and Jiang Hao didn't know what it was for. According to Jin Shan's explanation, it should be the exclusive token for the Redstone Chamber of Commerce VIP. Having the token can be used to purchase items at a discount at any branch of the Redstone Chamber of Commerce. After finishing all of this, Jiang Hao went back to his mansion, and Jin Shan personally walked to the door to see him off. Before leaving, Jiang Hao specifically asked for the name of the front desk waitress, knowing that her name was Liu Fen. Only then did Jiang Hao leave with satisfaction. Who knew that the next day, Liu Fen was sent by Jin Shan to the Jiang family to attack Jiang Hao. Looking at the sudden arrival of Liu Fen, Jiang Hao was also greatly surprised. He didn't expect that just by asking the other person's name, they would be sent to his home by Jin Shan. It must be said that Jin Shan is really sensible. However, judging from the expression on Liu Fen's face, it seems that she was not forced to come, but rather very happy. Actually, at the beginning, Liu Fen didn't want to come and went to serve others. Isn't that obvious?